Hello, guys, and this is episode 9 of the Whips Nation podcast. I'm your host, Alex, and our guest today is Whipsnakes LSM and two-time PLL Champion, Mike Ehrhardt. Mike tells us about his time at Chaminade, playing at Maryland, and getting ready for the new season. It's going to be a good one, so sit back, relax, and enjoy the video.
Awesome.
Okay, in 3, 2, 1. Hey everybody, this is Alex with the Whips Nation podcast. Mike Ehrhardt here. How you doing?
Hey, how are you? Thanks
Doing
for having
great.
me.
Of course. Yeah, pleasure to have you on. So you mentioned a little bit before the podcast started that you're in real estate. Can you tell me a little bit more about that?
Yeah, so I work full-time job in commercial real estate in New York City, and I work on the title insurance side of the industry. So work with a ton of developers, owner-operators, lenders, attorneys, brokers, pretty much everyone up and down the stack. So it's definitely a great business out. A lot of relationships, a lot of lacrosse guys in the industry. So it's great to connect with younger and older guys and everyone who enjoys the sport. So it's definitely an added bonus being in this industry.
So what's your take on the current market and the lack of just available inventory, kind of like countrywide right now?
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of money out there right now, and a lot of guys just waiting to deploy it. So you're seeing the multifamily sector really stayed strong during COVID, and obviously industrial was a really hot one. But yeah, you're starting to see, especially in New York City, offices starting to bounce back. People are returning to the offices. Deals are starting to get done. So yeah, a lot of the foreign money's coming back into the States with the current political map, and yeah, so it's definitely good. Hopefully we rebound, but I still think there's going to be some ups and downs, and that people are going to have to navigate the next 12 to 18 months still due to COVID. But yeah, no, it's really excited. Looks like the market's bouncing back a little bit, so we'll see what happens.
Definitely. I mean, did you always want to get into real estate, like even from in high school or college? Like, when did you realize that you wanted to get into real estate?
Honestly, it was just an opportunity that came after college with a family friend that said, "Hey, come work for me and see if you like it or not." And I've been there ever since.
Wow.
But in college, I interned for 2 summers on a bonds trading platform. So I got a little taste of that side of the business and Wall Street, and decided that really wasn't the route I wanted to go. And obviously, when this opportunity came about, I jumped on it, kind of learned the ins and outs, and definitely, I mean, I love real estate, so it's learning something new every day, which is great.
So what did you want to do when you were in high school for a career?
Probably something in finance.
Okay.
I mean, obviously going to Chaminade, that's where a lot of the alumni go. And obviously nowadays, from when I was in high school, everything a lot turned more entrepreneurship. So you got a lot of guys that are going out doing their own thing. And I mean, I was in high school not a long time ago, but definitely over a decade ago. And it's a lot has changed since then. And it's definitely a lot of interesting stuff out there with technology involved with the market. So yeah, no, excited to kind of see where the next decade goes.
Yeah, seriously. I mean, we're both 90s kids. What's one thing that, you and I would, totally understand that, current kids nowadays just like literally could not comprehend? I'll give you an example, like, Blockbuster, CDs, just having patience generally, asking to borrow your parents' phone, that kind of thing.
Yeah, I mean, just technology just blows me away. It's something new. I mean, I usually have the same iPhone until my battery dies, and then I get another one. I'm not a huge tech guy.
Yeah.
So I mean, and all these social media trends too. Obviously, being part of the PLL, it's social media is a huge asset for us, and it's a great way to reach our fans. And but yeah, some of these trends and obviously TikTok and all this stuff, it's all new to me. the last 6-8 months. But it's it's a great way to connect with the fans. And I can't really think of anything off the top of my head back
No
in the
worries.
90s. But I mean, maybe just going outside to play with your friends. I feel like
Yeah.
that's lost in today's world. Kids are just behind their phones playing video games, hanging inside. So just miss the old days where
Yeah.
head up to the park after school, or
Yep.
you're out at a friend's house playing in the backyard, and coming home dirty for dinner. So it's definitely something I think that's lost out there these days.
Right, because I mean, we never had phones, so like when we're at the park, we gotta just, hey, mister, what time is it? Because what time you gotta get home by, kind of thing. That's
Exactly.
Yeah. So talk to me about your time at Chaminade. So their motto was "Be the best." The saying that you had at Maryland. Talk me through like what the culture was like at Chaminade and playing for their lacrosse team.
Yeah, so obviously Chaminade's a storied program, and it was coming from a really small town on Long Island. Actually, where my town is one of the only towns on Long Island that didn't have lacrosse growing up. So I had to go play in the neighboring town next to us, and in the Mineola PLL program there. And it was that's kind of where I got started. My cousins introduced me to the game, and I had a short stick in my hand until 9th grade when I got to Chaminade, and converted me over to play close defense. Obviously, they saw that the height and the size of me, and thought it'd be a good switch. And I was definitely a little hesitant at first, but if it was my best chance to see the field, and they thought I'd have a ton of success with it. And luckily they were right, and and it ended up being a good choice. But yeah, it definitely was a little bit of a learning curve, but I definitely credit my basketball background for helping me pick up the position. A lot of the movements and terminology in basketball translates to defense and lacrosse, and that's something I've been a big proponent of my entire career, and especially when I'm talking to younger kids, is just going out to play multiple sports, and especially for young defenders, basketball is definitely one of the best sports you can play to kind of work on that footwork, understand pick play, working as a team, just guarding the hoop. And it's a sport I still play to this day, and we play in the city as a ton of lacrosse guys that get together, and we play pick up hoops when the weather's obviously nice. And but yeah, no, Chaminade definitely taught me a lot of life lessons, and kind of helped me to be in the position I am today. And it was great. You have legendary coach Jack Moran, who's been there for decades. And so my recruitment process to Maryland definitely was aided by Coach Moran too. His son Ryan Moran, who's now the head coach at UMBC. During my recruitment process, he was the Navy assistant coach, and he had it was actually Andy Copeland. Actually, yeah, it was Andy Copeland who was at Maryland. He was the offensive coordinator. He had left to go take the Fairfield head coach job, and then that's when Ryan Moran was hired as the assistant coach, and that's where kind of my recruitment picked up at Maryland. And you obviously had Coach Slavkowski, who probably not a lot of guys remember, but he was a legendary defensive coach at Maryland, and Coach Cottle. So went on a bunch of visits down there, and obviously the family connection with Chaminade too was something nice. And you obviously get the be the best motto that the Navy guys had, and obviously Maryland, it's been instilled there for years, and same thing with Chaminade. So it definitely helped, and it was really exciting to be able to head down there and play for another Moran. And he was there all 4 years I was there. We had some ups and downs, but a lot of success during my 4 years. And yeah, I mean, that's definitely a credit to my time at Chaminade.
Did you catch the Maryland Notre Dame game over the weekend?
Oh yeah, man, that was probably the most stressed I've been. It's definitely a lot harder watching those games than playing in them. I mean, we were talking about it in our little group chat with some of the Maryland guys and Whipsnake guys, and we were like, hey, like I got more anxiety and stressed out, and that whole game just sitting on the couch watching. I mean, I'd rather be playing a game like that, but it's definitely a lot harder watching. So I'm definitely going to be doomed when I retire at some point. So we'll see.
Yeah, it was super tough to watch as a fan. I mean, the game, I think they ended up tying the score like 7 or 9 times or something like that throughout the whole
Yeah,
thing, just back and forth, back and forth. Super crazy. I was happy with the result. I had Maryland winning. I still have Maryland winning everything actually in my bracket. So,
good.
shout
That's
out
the
to
way
the
it should be.
Terps. That's right.
There we go.
So, yeah, they got a tough challenge this weekend with Duke. Did you have the chance to watch Nick Grill play? And did you? What were your impressions of watching him play leading up to training camp? Because he's obviously not going to be there.
Yeah, no, I mean, I've watched pretty much every single Maryland game this year. It's like a religion.
Yeah.
It's something that you worship on the weekends when they play, and it's something you look forward to. You have it on the calendar and stop what you're doing and watch it. So obviously very, very close to the program still, and to Coach Tillman, and one of my best friends, Jesse Bernhardt, is the defensive coach. So he's like a brother to me, and so I definitely talk to those guys every week, and really excited that we were able to pick up Nick Grill late in the draft there. I'm really surprised he fell that far.
Yeah.
But he's going to be great adding depth to our defensive group. And we had another great pull out of Colin Squires out of Denver, who had a very great career and kind of underrated career. But we're going to expect those guys to kind of come in and add depth to the lineup and help out where they can.
So he took care of Pat Cavanaugh. I don't think he scored anytime Nick Grill was playing on ball. Who is like the Whip's current like shutdown defenseman down low?
I mean, we got 3 great cover guys.
Yeah.
But I mean, I would say you got Matt Dunn's one of the world's premier cover guy right now. I mean, he's the best guy in the world, I personally think. But I think we'd all say I think Jared Bernhardt might be a little tough to cover these days. So it's glad he's not going against us, and he's part of our family. But he's freaking good. So it's I think that's one guy I don't think anyone would want to cover.
No, and the thing that's weird about watching him play is he makes it look pretty easy. Like it doesn't look like he's like really stressing himself out dodging against these guys. He seems to just get topside at will.
Yeah, he's pretty smooth. He is a very smooth player.
So if you're guarding him, what are you doing on that matchup?
I mean, you just gotta force him one way and expect some help. I mean, it's his change of directions. He could change it on the dime, and he's moving. I mean, his first few steps are. I mean, you can't be standing flat-footed when you're covering him. You got to have those feet moving. But I'm glad he's on our side, and we're not going against him.
True. And hopefully his NFL thing works out, or else you're going to be going up against him in the PLL, which would be.
There's a reason why we didn't pick him earlier, but we'll let the football stuff play out, and we'll see what happens in a few years.
Yeah. So you're obviously still very connected to Maryland, holds a deep place in your heart. Your first tattoo was a Maryland Terrapin, and I have to ask, have you had any tattoos since, and would you consider getting a Whipsnakes tattoo?
It will probably be my first and only. So it was something some of the guys did after they graduated, and obviously would have loved to put a crown on it during my 4 years, but it's something near and dear to my heart. And honestly, when you look down and see it's there, it's kind of just a reminder of where you came from and like who you are as a person. And it's definitely something. It's definitely more of a gift to myself than anything, but it's I mean, obviously Maryland is a special place to me, and something somewhere will always be near and dear.
Definitely. Now kind of switching gears back to PLL stuff. You obviously are a huge 2-point threat, and kind of stretch the field out there, especially in transition, and make defensemen come up and cover you early. Do you see the 2-point line as something that they should implement in college, high school, and just tear it down from 15 yards down to whatever they think's appropriate? What are your opinions on that?
I mean, I don't know. I go back and forth all the time.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I think the college game, I mean, obviously everyone has their opinion. I think it is in a good place. I mean, I could see the shot clock being maybe lowered at what it's at 80 seconds now. I mean, people have said 60. I kind of like it how it is. I think 80 seconds is perfect. And the little tinker to the face off is good. I mean, I haven't watched too many other games. Obviously, you kind of have some of the same guys that are still dominating. I think they'll dominate regardless, but it's, you know, whatever you can do. I think the PLL has done a great job of really revolutionizing the face off, and obviously some guys still dominate more than others, but it's definitely more of a 50-50 ground balls than instead of these guys just pinching and popping and going forward to themselves all the time. Obviously, with the PLL, you have 10 yards taken out in the middle of the field. Me personally, like, I don't mind it. It's a little less running, but it's also it definitely hurts. I think it definitely hurts some players. Guys that like to operate in more open space, and there's just not as much space. So I think that's definitely a benefit for the defense, and I think that's why the first couple of years you saw the low scoring games where defense can be compacted. And I mean, for me, I take 5-6 steps, I'm already on top of the 2-point arc when I'm clearing from the other side. And obviously you saw that in the first year, and some guys got their head taken off at the midfield line, and a couple guys have to have their head on a swivel. But yeah, it's definitely, you know, it's a unique change to the game, but I personally wouldn't change the college rules right now. I kind of like them how they are.
So here's my argument for adding a 2-point arc to the different levels of lacrosse to kind of unify the rules a little bit. It looks better to have just all the rules the same, so you're not explaining to, you know, your uncle who doesn't watch lacrosse why the pros have a 2-point arc and then none of the other ones do. Reason 2 is I think it adds tension to like closer games. So like in that Maryland game, let's say that Maryland goes up 2 and, you know, there's 10 seconds left. Notre Dame's been winning the face-off. With 10 seconds, you can bring it down, shoot a 2-pointer, and tie the game. While with the current rule set, the game's pretty much over and there's no tension.
Yeah, no, I mean, I definitely see that. I would say that I agree with a smaller field on the for the younger kids. I mean, I don't think younger kids should be playing on a bigger field till at least middle school. I mean, it's ridiculous. You have these little kids running around. It's not the best way to learn lacrosse, and that's one thing. And I don't agree with a 2-point arc in high school, at least. I mean, I get the excitement and unifying the rules and everything, but I just don't. I mean, who knows? I'm not that involved with the college rules and stuff, but I don't know if I'd like it in the college sport. And I might be asking a lot of the grounds crews and certain fields being able to put those lines in, so it's a little more to ask for. But yeah, I mean, I definitely get the excitement around it, and but I mean, it's great for the professional game. But yeah, I mean, the only really rule change I'd love to see is just the younger kids playing on a smaller field. It's way too much running up and down. They should be really focusing on their offense, defense, stick work, passing the ball around, and so that's definitely one thing I'd love to see changed.
No, I'm in agreement with that. Do you think you have the same opinions about the shot clock? Just because I can see a lot of, you know, operational things that would be tough to have a shot clock in high school as well. Although I would enjoy a higher pace, I can understand, you know, the difficulties of trying to set that up.
Well, yeah, I mean, you see the MIA, they adopted the shot clock, and it's definitely an operational thing, and it's unfortunate that as much as the sport has grown, it takes money to invest in the sport. And obviously, as we get bigger, hopefully more sponsorships, more money from endowments, or more money from the counties, and the public school system pours into the sport. But I mean, it's an expensive sport, and that's something that we're still battling. And the equality and getting everyone involved, and I mean, that's something that it's tough. I mean, I work with a lot of the inner city programs here in New York City, and it's crazy. I mean, it just shows how privileged we were growing up, being able to play the sport on Long Island. And when you go to work with some of these programs, it's I mean, they're playing with old equipment, and it might not be the safest equipment, but they love the game and want to get out there. So for me, it's that much more enjoyable going out to work with those guys because they want to play these games, and that's probably my biggest thing with kids in the rich area of, not saying like rich wealthy wise, but rich where the lacrosse density is huge. I mean, Long Island, Maryland, Philly. I mean, you have lacrosse everywhere.
Right.
You go to some of these areas that don't really have it, and it's new to them. They're so happy just to be out there playing.
Yeah.
And when we show up, they're more excited. And you kind of, when you go to Long Island, it's nothing against those guys. Like, they could care less if we're there. I mean, they're playing the sport so much, and that's why I enjoy working with those groups and kind of the underprivileged areas. And I'd rather spend my time with those guys than in certain areas. So.
No, I'm in 100% agreement, and that's what I think is so good about the PLL's touring model is when they're able to come out to the West Coast and see some of these states and areas that don't have, hotbeds for lacrosse. They're able to bring out a ton of, new fans and hopefully new eyes to the sport. What stops are you excited for this year for the locations that were announced?
Yeah, I mean, obviously Hofstra's right in my backyard.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's 4th of July weekend, and it's going to be a hot one on Sunday for us. We're smack in the middle of the afternoon, but I mean, that venue is awesome. I mean, I think that's where the quarter should be every year. And I was actually over there with Rob Pinnell on Saturday watching those quarters. So we had a great setup there watching that, and it was fun to kind of see live lacrosse again. But yeah, I mean, I got a bunch of family up in New England that's coming to the first weekend, so that's always
Nice.
a really exciting place to go play. And I'm trying to think, I mean, obviously low going down to Baltimore, you get the home crowd behind us with a lot of us being from Maryland and guys who just grew up in Baltimore, being in town there. So I think what other road stops we got? I mean, Minnesota is definitely going to be a pretty unique opportunity going up there. I mean, it's one of the newer stadiums. You're seeing some really good kids in college come out of Minnesota, and I mean, that's the great thing about, like you said, about the PLL, just going to all these different cities and going to some of these new places where lacrosse is just blowing up, and it's getting really good players from those areas. So obviously, it's great going to some of the big cities and well-known ones, but it's also nice going to some of these smaller ones where we're helping grow the sport.
Definitely. So this week, actually this Friday, you guys are all headed off to training camp in New England. Are you pretty excited for that? Like, what's your mindset going into camp for your third year in the PLL?
Yeah, no, I mean, it's third year in the PLL, and I guess it's my eighth year in professional lacrosse. So obviously it's very exciting, and I'm the second or third oldest on the team now, which is crazy. So definitely one of the veterans, and we got a great group of guys though. So great mix of guys. I mean, we call them our guys that we want in the locker room, and obviously we've kind of have the ability with the roster that we started with to kind of handpick the group of guys that we think would be best fit for our locker room. And Coach Staggs and the coaching staff has done a great job putting together this team and maintaining this team. Obviously, we lost some very key pieces the first year, and we lost some key pieces this year too, with Tuttle and Stover. But I think we got better overall. We added depth, and I mean, it's exciting times. Playing 5 games on TV. We're on Peacock, and it's gonna have some big sponsors that will be there, and most importantly, the fans get to gamble on the game. So
that's right.
It's definitely adds another element to it.
I mean that part's not that hard. You just have to bet the house on the Whips, right?
I think it was you just take the money line, and you would have won a lot of money last summer, but I can't really talk too much on it. So it's something that we go through and
Sure.
integrity classes, but
That's right.
it's definitely an interesting part of the model now.
Definitely. I mean, so among your field practices, like what else goes into the PLL training camp? I know that there's some element of, social media stuff that you guys have to go through. You said integrity training for sports betting. What else do you guys do when you're there?
Yeah, I mean, even though a lot of us are vaccinated now, it's
Mhm.
it's obviously COVID's a huge concern still, and something that we got to be aware of and not let our guard down. So that's something that, I mean, we is really stressed and going to be important in training camp and maintaining to the protocol and the guidelines that they put in place for us. And obviously we got some social media training, some social media stuff that kind of get ready for the new year that they'll kind of use, headshots, all that stuff. And then you have some meetings with the heads of the league, and obviously inform us of any news and rules changes or whatever it is, kind of what they expect for this season. And then we kind of just roll right into it. When we start our practices, got a scrimmage or two, and then our last night, I think this is Wednesday, we're off Thursday, pregame Friday, and we got game day on Saturday. So it's going to go by quick, and I'm sure people are going to be pretty sore by the time that first weekend comes with training camp. But yeah, it's definitely different than last year. The type of, obviously you want to go in the best shape as possible, but it's definitely a little bit different than what we went into the bubble with last year.
Definitely. How's the food in training camp?
So usually, obviously it's different in the bubble. There was a cafeteria in the bubble there, but yeah, Superfoods is awesome. They're a great partner of ours, and they're down in DC. So those guys, I'm assuming those guys are coming back. But yeah, they usually make our meals. They got guys in all the cities we go to that cook up the meals for us, and they're all healthy. And the only complaint, the portion size could be a little bit bigger, but we'll take it. It's always delicious, and what we need to fuel ourselves up, either post practice, before the game, post game too. So they do a great job. So
nice. And so right after this podcast, you're hopping on a defensive call with some of the other Whipsnakes guys. How are you looking forward to seeing everybody in person and not just on a computer screen?
Yeah, it's great. Obviously I got Timmy Muller, who lives around the block from me in the city, so he's back in the city. So I got to. He's my workout partner usually, and
oh, nice.
There's a couple other guys too. I got to see in person. Just we've been going up to Connecticut to work out the last couple months, and John Ranigan and Connor Kelly, another Maryland guy and Hopkins guy. And Ranigan, but yeah, no, we had a good crew, and we played a little scrimmage a couple weeks ago with some guys, so got to see some faces there. And Brad Smith's in the city too; he's around the block, so I get to see him a ton.
Nice.
So yeah, no, it's definitely a good crew.
Awesome. How's Brad's stash looking?
Oh, it's phenomenal right now. It's
nice.
it's pretty interesting. So we'll see if he's trimmed it up for camp, but I think he's just gonna let it go.
Nice. Yeah. Why cut it if it's working, right?
Exactly.
That's right. So congratulations on being the newest Warrior athlete.
Thank you.
My first lacrosse shaft ever was a Warrior Cryptolite way back in the day. And I always idolized those the kids that had the Warrior regulators way back in the day. You remember those?
Yep.
Yeah, those were sick.
Yeah. Nah, it's definitely a great new partnership, and glad to be part of the New Balance Warrior family. And it's something that SDX was great, and I had a great time with those guys the last 2 years. And when this opportunity came about, it was too hard to pass down, or pass up. So it was a no-brainer for me, and those guys have been great ever since I've been on board, and really helping to grow the brand and kind of help me out with whatever I need. So really excited for the next 3 years with them.
Awesome. So we're running a little low on time, so I'm gonna let you go to get to your meeting. But before you go, what's one thing that the fans, myself, any of us can do to help grow the game of lacrosse in our areas?
Just get out there and play, and The biggest thing too, it's like any old equipment I have, it's I just pass it on, and it's you want to get the stick in as many kids' hands as possible, whether it's boys or girls. And I mean, lacrosse is, I mean, it's taken me all over the world, and it's introduced me to many people that I never thought I'd ever meet. So it's a great sport. I'll continue to be an ambassador of it, even when I'm done playing. But yeah, I mean, it's if you got some old gear lying around, share the wealth, spread it out, get it into some new people's hands, and just go share the lacrosse knowledge out there. But yeah, no, it's a great sport, and hopefully it could continue to grow, and it gets up into the it gets up into like the soccer numbers, where it's well known around the entire world. And obviously you still continue to go down south in the US, and some people just have no clue what it is. So it's really the exposure of getting the women's game and then the men's game on TV more. And obviously the social media channels definitely help. And hopefully some of these other the news media outlets kind of pick up the reporting of it too. So never hurts. So hopefully it's all good publicity. Obviously there's some bad sometimes, but that's life. So it's all good stuff.
All good stuff. Lacrosse has a bright future. Thank you so much, Mike, for hopping on this podcast. I really do appreciate it. Where can people find you on socials?
It's Mike _Ehrhardt 28. So usually on social media, I check it a couple times a day. Not on it a ton, but it's need anything, I'm there.
Perfect. Thank you, Mike. I appreciate it.
Awesome. Thanks, Alex.
Oh, wait. You thought the video was over? Next time on the season finale of the Whips Nation podcast. And 3, 2, 1.